Mike Douglas is Michigan's retirement coach.
Is a slow leak derailing your retirement plan? No, we are not talking about if you need to replace your plumbing because of all the leaks in your house. That is a whole nother podcast.
Yes. And I will not be on that one.
No, neither will I. I will as a sympathizer. I'll always be a sympathizer because we just had to replace our plumbing. So again, a whole nother conversation. Leave comments in the notes if you want a sympathizer on a plumbing issue. I'm here for you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's this article on moneywise.com talking about things that can derail our plan. And they listed out the usual culprits. They talked about market volatility, taxes, long-term care. But it also mentioned this quote unquote slow leak. And they're meaning that in the way of spending habits. So the article says, quote, most retirees don't spend their wealth on yachts or luxury watches. Instead, they gradually lose it through uninteresting and often overlooked expenses. So what would fall into that category? Is this something that you have seen in your experience happen to people?
Yeah, it happens sometimes. Okay. And I think it comes from a place of if you've never had to live on a budget, mm-hmm. right? I mean, let's say you had more income than you ever needed to deal with, and now you go to live more on a structured lifestyle. That can be a challenge. Okay. The other thing is kind of the opposite extreme. So if you go used to high levels of spending and now you try to go towards a reduced level of spending, that can be tough because you're used to freedoms that you've always had.
Right.
I'll just go buy that couch then. I'll just go buy that TV today because I want it. I'll just go, hey, my grandkids want this. I'm just going to go pay for it. Well, that's not built into your structured budget necessarily. And again, not that you can't do those things, but it's just not in the budget. So all of a sudden they say, hey, I need another 10 grand set to my account. Okay, what's going on? Is something happening? No, just spending's up. Okay. Well, this random spending's up seems to happen more and more for a lot of those people. Mm-hmm. And so I said, we just need to readjust your budget to account for this number then. That's the one side. Or the other side, people have lived on a very low income level. And then we tell them, all right, well, based on your, like, let's say they're used to living on 80 grand a year. And we go through and say, hey, I think based on your portfolio and all the stuff we've said, we think you can live on 90 to 95,000 a year and feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. And they get used to that. And they just start spending money because initially they're spending more than they've ever spent. Well, then there's that phrase, the lifestyle I've grown accustomed to.
Yeah.
Right. It's used in a lot of different scenarios.
Yeah.
But with that, people grow accustomed to that lifestyle, just spending money. And then there becomes this weird expectation of spending money. And so I see people come from both ends of the spectrum. They've spent a lot and then they try to live on less and then they push it back up, or they've lived on a very little and yet they kind of keep creeping up as the freedom has been given. Mm-hmm. They take maybe too many liberties with it. Mm-hmm. But there is a lifestyle creep, right? Groceries more expensive. Well, that's inflation. That happens. Traveling. I think traveling is important in retirement. I think you should do as much of it as you can. It adds life to your years, which typically adds years to your life. So the more healthy, energetic, outgoing, traveled you are, typically it seems the longer you live. So I think those are all really good things. And then there's this more of a new phenomenon in the last 10 years than in the previous, well, all of eternity before that, which is the need to help adult kids more and more. And that's a newer phenomenon. It wasn't a thing for a long time. It was, I got you out of the house. I made it so you could survive until you got out of the house. Now you're on your own because now I'm going to retire and live on my money. Mm-hmm. More and more we're seeing retirees, which again, and I'm putting it in this, I'm not saying this is a negative.
Okay.
But a new phenomenon is I need to give my kids money all the while. Like they're in their 40s. I need to give them money, help them with this. I like it. I like that. It's called a living inheritance in our mind, mm-hmm. where I can either leave you this pot of gold when I die and you're 60 or 65 years old. And now it doesn't really help you the way it would have helped you in your 40s and 50s when your kids were young.
Right.
I like it all.
Okay.
But you need a plan for it.
Okay.
So people who just do this living inheritance without a plan, that can become a reckless thing. Hey, I want to do, 15 grand for every grandkid for college. Well, I think that's great. And then they say, by the way, I've got 6 grandkids going into college this year for the first time. Holy cow. You want $90,000? That's news to the financial advisor.
Right.
So I think there's some adjustments that need to be made.
Okay.
And some forethought. Helping adult kids and grandkids without a plan is a problem. Helping them, I have no problem with. Again, as my kids are younger, but as they age, I want to help them with their first home. I want to help. I don't want to do it all because they have to learn that responsibility. And there's a beauty in the suffering of living in a crappy little tiny house. And then when you get to drive back by it 10, 15 years later, like we do with our kids in our first home, I say, hey, that's the house you guys were born into. It's small, little less than 1,000 square foot house. And again, we loved it. It was a great first home for us. But now as we drive back by, I'm like, guys, that's where you were born. And it's a little house. And they can see that that's how you start. That's where you should be beginning. There's a lot there. Another one, the increase of subscriptions and invisible expenses, whether it's, you've got too many photos on your phone and you have to increase your iCloud storage every month, or, you're dining. Well, I didn't feel like going out, so I just DoorDashed a bunch of times this month. And that just increases the price of your meal by 50% typically. There's stuff like that. So think of it like a million little leaks in the bucket.
Okay.
Rather than people coming in and saying, hey, got to buy a new car this month. That doesn't happen every month. These big $20,000 and $30,000 shots, those don't happen all the time. But there's a lot of things that are just kind of creeping up more and more. Inflation, convenience fees, subscription-based services. I have cable and Netflix and Disney Plus and Hulu, like all these things. All of a sudden, you've only ever spent $70 on cable. Now you're spending $300 between subscriptions and cable.
Is there something to be said, speaking of convenience, speaking of DoorDash, is there something to be said for how easy it is to spend money now? Before you used to have to, if you wanted to eat out, the only delivery we used to be able to get when I was growing up was, pizza place. Now you can get anything delivered, but it'll cost you. But we live in this world, the whole thing about Las Vegas, they're brilliant because you're not gambling with real money. You give you the chips. And it's almost like the same thing happens with this digital currency world we live in, because we're not feeling that. I challenge anybody listening to this podcast or watching this YouTube video. Next time you go to the grocery store, pay with cash and not a credit card, and see how much harder it is to swallow paying $150 for 16 items. Yeah.
Well, that's absolutely true. We were last summer, our lawnmower broke down.
Yeah.
And it was shot. And it was just, I got it checked out. They're like, it's done. It's trash. And so I had to get a new lawnmower really quickly. And so we had gone to church in the morning and we're sitting there Sunday afternoon. I had done the research and I found the one I wanted, and I had done a bunch of reviews and I talked to some people. I'm like, that's the one I wanted. I knew I wanted it. And I was buying it from Tractor Supply. Not a sponsor, just, Tractor Supply company. So I went online, and there was a Tractor Supply near my house. They didn't have it, but there was one about 30 minutes away. They have it. I was able to go online, purchase it online. I was able to decide if I wanted to 0% finance it or pay cash or pay card right online. And it was delivered to my house the next day. It took me about 6 minutes to do the whole thing. I sat in the parking lot after church in my car waiting, because I'm always in the car waiting for my family to get in the car. And everywhere we go in life, I'm waiting for them to get in the car. And in 6 minutes, I was able to purchase, finance, and have, again, it was a 0% financing. I paid it off in 2 months.
Yeah.
I just can't turn down free money. It's just something inside of me.
Yeah.
But I did it and had a delivery scheduled. So by the time my family got in the car, they said, do we need to go shopping for a mower? I said, no, it'll be at the house tomorrow. And it was delivered the next morning. That's how easy it was to spend $5,000. Almost as long as it would have taken me to remember how to write a check. Like, that's crazy. And it's absolutely true. It's easier to spend money than ever. And everybody's making it easier for you to overspend than ever. Oh gosh, I can't afford that. Okay. Do you want to make 6 easy payments? There is on DoorDash, there's financing on DoorDash. I think Klarna has a partnership with DoorDash now where you can pay for that burrito over 3 months.
Which is insane.
That's ridiculous.
If you have to finance your dinner, you can't afford that dinner.
I'm typically very anti buy now, pay later schemes.
Yeah.
And I say schemes because what happens is, people always know about credit cards, right? You put money on a credit card, and if you don't pay the payment off, the interest is pretty high.
Yeah.
And it's pretty clearly disclosed what they are. However, most buy now, pay laters, if you miss a payment, the interest rate is about 20 to 30% more than a credit card payment.
Right.
Interest rate. They're super expensive. And they hadn't been reported to the credit bureaus for a long time. Most of them don't. So the credit companies don't even know how much you have in buy now, pay later debts. Otherwise, they'd be telling you can't do it. So there's just a lot of bad decisions being made because there's easy access to fake capital, right? When you buy now, pay later something, you're not actually getting any money. They're just saying you can pay from your bank account over 3 months or 6 months. You start stacking those up, especially think about Christmas time or whatever. You start stacking up these things that you can't afford, but you do it now because they'll allow you to break it over 6 months. And I'll pay extra $200 in interest or whatever. Those things add up. And all of a sudden you realize, gosh, on a month-to-month basis, I need to pull more out of my accounts. Why? Because I just didn't realize how many of those things I put on top of each other. You don't even have to sign paperwork anymore. It's done on a cell phone. Mm-hmm. It's done through PayPal's credit line. Mm-hmm. It's done through Synchrony Bank or whatever one you go through. It's just too easy to get your hands on money that you can't afford.
Yep.
And all they say is pay later. Layaway used to be an interesting thing back in like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Right? You'd go to a store. You'd say, I want that couch at this discounted price. They say, sounds good. We'll put it on layaway. We're going to hold the couch until you pay for it.
Right. It used to be you couldn't have the thing. Yes.
Right. And so you didn't get the prize until you ate the whole box of cereal. You didn't get the couch until you paid for the whole couch. Yeah. They just said, we'll secure the couch and we'll hold it for you until you're ready to settle up. Mm-hmm. Now it's the opposite. Mm-hmm. You get the good now. Mm-hmm. And the hope is from them that you miss a payment, they can charge you through the nose and they can really run you through the ringer. Mm-hmm. It's a backwards credit system. It's very predatory, and people, whether they're retired or not, are getting caught up in it. And these are the leaks in the bucket. These are the invisible expenses that we don't realize. We think, oh, it's a $500 thing. I'm making it over 5 payments. It's $100 a month. Nope. It ends up costing you $600 or $700 for the same thing. And yet, if you had just had a good financial plan and a good strategy and not overspent, these are all the little things that are turning a successful retirement into a questionable retirement, and it doesn't have to happen.
Well, then how do we prevent the accidental overspending? Is it as simple as creating an income plan and being more aware? Because I think that doesn't feel very fun for retirees as well.
I think you have to be able to take a look backwards to look forwards.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to look at the last 12 months of expenses. What did I spend last Christmas? What did I spend last spring? Do we have a boat? Because if you have a boat, your expensive months are June, July, August in Michigan.
Okay.
Right. Those are your expensive months. If you have a cottage, maybe that's where things, if you're a snowbird, what do those things transfer? Look at the last 12 months, figure out what your expenses are on average, and build that into a structured withdrawal strategy. Build it into a plan that says, here's how I get my income. Here's how I get paid. Here's how all these things work together, and make it so that it works for you. And then look at your investments and say, how do I get that in the best way? So it requires some really detailed planning, but also requires working with someone who gets it, who gets your life, who gets where you are, and understands how to structure it properly.
That's what you're here for, right? And also, I think it's an important message and wake up call because, I think most retirees, particularly where you work in Grand Rapids, I mean, living near the lake, and there is a lot of, a second house and boat life. But for the most part, people of Michigan are salt of the earth, responsible people. So they think to themselves, well, I'm not spending $30,000 for a watch. I'm not buying a $500,000 boat. What's the problem? But if you point out all these unexpected expenses, all these slow leaks, that it's the death by 1,000 cuts analogy that people don't even realize.
Yeah, we want to have a 30-year run rate on our money.
Yeah.
We want to be able to see what our money looks like for the next 30 years. Okay. And from there, you can make short-term decisions based on long-term information. I can look and see if I increase my spending by $1,000 a month for the rest of my life with inflation, what will that do to my portfolio 20, 30 years from now? If it works, then it works. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. But at least you know.
Yeah. Be aware. Have the knowledge. Know where your money's going. Have the awareness of your spending habits so that you don't find yourself in a pickle of a situation. Mike and his team, they're here to help you figure that out if you want some help in the spending and planning process for retirement. Visit us at michigansretirementcoach.com.
Thanks for listening to Michigan's Retirement Coach with Mike Douglas. To learn more, visit michigansretirementcoach.com.
Michael Douglas is an investment advisor representative of Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Michael Douglas is licensed in your state, please call 517-323-7526. Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Michael B. Douglas, NPN number 9650939.